Why, hello there, A Nice Tale here, bringing you a knife review I hope you find this video finds you well. I'm stumbling already. This is a great sign, great start, good job. Maybe I should call it here. No, we're not calling it here. We're doing this. This is the Real Steel Serenity, Real Steel right there, designed by Evan Bragnitz. This is, before we get into anything else, possibly one of my favorite budget designs. I love the overall design and profile. I love the way this knife is, but it is being held back by a couple of key issues and is in dire need of a V2. And I'm actually probably going to go to bed for this thing and maybe even try to reach out to Real Steel as just this random nonsense content creator and be like, hey, tiny tweaks, and this thing would be amazing. As it is, it's probably turning away potential buyers. And you'll see why after we get done with the specs. So let's get in there. 3 and a little over 3/8 of an inch. I'd call that 3.4 inches of blade. To do 7 and... Well, honestly, the pocket clip sticks out a little bit. It's almost 8 inches to the pocket clip. And just under 4 and 5/8, so yeah, 4.6 handle, 3.4 blade, 8 inches overall. Wow, look at that, it adds up. Comparisons to the small Civivi Elementum and the full-size Civivi Conspirator. Wait, hold on. I like that. I like the acoustics on that one. And as you can pretty much see, it comes in between them. It's pretty darn close to the Conspirator. It really is. It's close enough that I would normally call this a full-size knife, but it's just so minimal and small and thin in pretty much every way that I'm going to call this a medium-sized knife. In fact, let's take a look compared to the Conspirator. It's... Come on. There we go. Back to back. It's not as tall as the Conspirator is. It's not as thick as the Conspirator is, even despite it having pretty heavy contouring. And of course, it's just very slim in the hand. It's definitely more medium feeling, even if it is maybe lengthwise what I would consider a full size. Grip length is you have more than 2 AA batteries. Yeah, you're not going to have trouble finding a spot on this knife. It is super ergonomic. It is got more than enough length in there for you. Weight, 3 point, can we see that on the screen? Come on. I don't know why the screen, yeah, 3.69 ounces. Not quite an ounce an inch, but the ratios are darn close. I mean, 3.4 to 3.69, yeah, it's pretty close. I'm not upset about that at all. Handle thickness, 487 thousandths, under half an inch. Blade stock thickness is that 110? Okay, why am I getting different ratings? Why am I getting more different ratings? Does the whole blade taper that much that it's messing with me? Okay, 118 thousandths. That's odd. And the whole blade tapers enough that it's, I don't know. Let's call it somewhere between 150 and 120 thousandths. It's not thick. It's a pretty thin blade stock. Behind the edge is, I'm going to call that about 12 thousandths. Give or take a little bit. Could vary, of course, just a little tiny bit. But it's thin blade stock. Nice thin behind the edge. Actually came with a very good edge on it. Still got a pretty darn good edge on it. It cuts. It performs. It's really, really good in that field. Hardware check. T8 pivot, everything else is T6, unfortunately. There is a hidden screw under here, right about here. That is also T6. I have taken the knife apart, and it all went together fine, but T6, unfortunately. And the fact that the size of the screw heads are as big as they are, I kind of think like they could probably have gotten away with T8s. So that would be one thing that I'd like to change, of course. But I mean, it held up, so I can't hit it that hard. Just have some decent Torx bits, and you'll probably be fine. But of course, it is a budget knife, and you can always run into the occasional budget knife where you just get a strip screw, and T6 increases the chances of that. So that's why we don't like it. So now that we're done with the specs, let's just take a quick talk about this knife. Drop point, N690 blade steel. This one has a blasted finish. I don't particularly like blasted finishes, but this was my favorite configuration. And look, there's like a black bladed one and G10 scales and stuff like that. There is another variant of this that is slip joint, and that has a wooden scaled variant, which looked interesting, but I don't believe that's out for this one yet, or if it's even coming. You've got a tiny little harpoon, though. The harpoon doesn't really do much. The spine is crowned, so it's kind of slippery, so you slip up. It's not big enough to do anything, so it could be a little bit bigger. It could be gone completely and just get rid of that swedge. Either one would look really good. As it is, it looks really good. I like the blade. You get tip access, great. Thin behind the edge. You have a decent amount of sharpening choil, or distance between, not necessarily sharpening choil, but distance between the plunge grind. Yes, the stop pin, which is actually right here, does hit, let's see, does hit right about here, which is right behind the start of the, the end of the plunge, I suppose. Technically, you can definitely cut in here and make a perfectly valid, good-looking sharpening choil that's minimal and goes right here and will not cause any problems. You could run into an issue if you're not paying attention, or if you're not aware of that and you just go to cut into, between the end of the plunge and the flat of the blade where it's at its thinnest. Yes, you can cause yourself issues. I don't think it's going to be too hard to recognize that. But they could also fix that. And this is one of the things that maybe they could fix. And that's just by moving the stop pin forward just like a few millimeters. Just enough. I mean, it's got that much clearance. And honestly, a tiny bit further forward, a few millimeters. And cut in just a tiny little notch into the back of the, just bowl out a little tiny notch for it to sit in. Just a couple millimeters forward is going to take it from where it is back here to like back here, and you probably won't have any problem whatsoever if they did that. So it could be better. Be careful. I don't think you're gonna have a problem because they did give you enough distance here. I'm not actually holding that against it. It's fine. It is a flat ground blade. There is jimping. Of course there's jimping because it is a front flipper only. That's holding it back, let's be honest. And the jimping does not go up far, and they gave you, they cut in, you can kind of see it, like folded or molded down an angle here, so you definitely slip off the top. That's what, it threw me off at first, like I was doing that, but if you actually push directly into the jimping, it works just fine. The jimping actually functions, it's sharp enough, it's comfortable, it's just maybe a little less intuitive immediately. You just have to get used to it. But as long as you're pushing into the jimping, you're not going to have any trouble actuating the front flipper. It's actually pretty easy as far as front flippers go. Would it be nice just to see that carried up a little bit further? Sure. I mean, the real thing holding it back is that it is a front flipper only knife. And we'll talk about that on potential fixes for it, honestly. Moving on to the handle, you've got a liner lock with a crowned backspacer and crowned shadow boxed liners. They shadow box the scales, and they are crowned and softened and rounded and very, very nice. In fact, just looking at this thing, the profile, I absolutely love that. It almost looks like it could be a full-tang fixed blade if you were aware of what you were looking at, where you just took a glance at it. It's just so clean. It's nice to see this little bit sticking out. It's really, really, really attractive in my opinion. This is like exactly what I want. Slender knife. Pretty great. A fixed blade version with slightly longer blade here would be pretty darn cool. Like, it would work. It's really solid. I love the design. And I do like oftentimes Ivan Bragnet's designs, even though they're a little bit simpler. This is just like peak for me. I love this budget knife design, but it definitely needs some updates and V2, and we will continue talking about that after I continue mentioning it, which is now done. Okay. Deep carry pocket clip. Great, super deep carry, like ultra deep carry. It sticks out a little bit, so it gives you a pretty good pull point. No problem getting in and out of the pocket. That rise is a bit much, though. That's not necessarily a hard fix. You can just take some like needle nose pliers right there and just sort of crank it down a little bit. But let's be honest, I kind of wish it came in this position instead of sticking up as far as it does. Because ergos, yeah, you can feel the tip of the pocket clip. In some positions. Right here, for me, it pretty much disappears. It sits right in the crook of my hand. And most likely, because it's so much open, despite looking like it's not, it's like super open. You can definitely get your hands around it in almost any spot on this handle. Get a full 4-finger grip, and you can find a place where you're going to probably be comfortable and barely, if at all, feeling this. The hammer grip, for me, when I go up front, I feel the pocket clip, but it's fine. If I go back, yeah, it becomes a little bit of a hot spot. But that's back here, and if I'm going hammer grip, I'm probably going up here. And so it's not hard to find a spot that will probably work for you on this knife. Could it be better? Yeah. Unfortunately, that is the name of the game here. One thing I do want to mention before we go any further is the pocket clip is very interesting. It is mounted from the back, but as you can see, there is a post in there. So to get the pocket clip off and flipped, you actually have to take the screw out through this very tight hole here. It is possible, but it is tight. And the entire scale off, because you have to actually move the scale off a little bit and pull it out from underneath the pocket clip, because that post sticks up through the pocket clip. So it acts as an anchor, so it doesn't move and everything like that, and it's an extra point of, like, content. It's not just relying on the screw, basically. But, or retention is what I'm saying. But it does make it getting it off, because you have to pull it off there, and then you have to pop it on the other side, which means you have to take this one off, too. It's more complex than it needs to be. It's a little bit more of a pain to get apart than you'd think, than just slipping in and out. I'm not going to mess with the pocket clip again. So, I don't care, right? It's not affecting me in the slightest. And you can get into the knife just by taking these 3 apart and just coming in from this side. But just to be aware, it is a little bit weird in the way it's set up there. And I already mentioned the full, very nicely crowned, polished backspacer that wraps all the way around. There is milling and weight reduction inside, a decent amount. That's how they probably got it, despite the steel, to the weight it is. And now the arguably biggest point of issue on this knife is the lock bar access. I mean, they brought it down. They tried to give you some lock bar access. It is not enough. With how soft and rounded this thing is, and the bowling out here is probably not quite like deep enough this direction, like that direction. And they left it so it a little bit of the liner still protrudes over the beyond the scale. I can get it from the side, but I feel like I have to push in harder or work harder than I should. Like it's a little bit less than comfortable, or at least as comfortable as I want it to be. That is partially because the lock bar is actually got some pretty good tension on it. Like, you can go there and be fine. You can go here and be fine. You can even go here and be fine, though it does push into your nail. As you can kind of see, it's wearing on my nail just at the corner right there. It works. it needs to be better. It's that simple. It is on bearings, and the action is pretty nice, actually. It's pretty consistent, reasonably smooth for a budget knife. It is centered. I don't know why I said it that way, but it is centered. There is no play. It recentered after I took it apart. The handles are micarta with, in this case, like I said, there's G10 and wood and stuff. But in this case, it's micarta. It is beautifully contoured, pretty heavily contoured, honestly. Without the pocket clip, the handles are ridiculously comfortable. Micarta quality is mid. I mean, it's fine for budget. It's better than some that companies used to use, like Civivi used to use, and a few other companies used to use some pretty crappy quality micarta, or at least not as good as we would like to see. This isn't Kaiser level micarta or some of the stuff that like Vosteed's been using lately, but honestly, the early Vosteed knives had probably worse micarta than this. It's just, you get little puffs occasionally sticking out, and it's broken in pretty well. As you can see, it's starting to get darker and everything. It's actually getting darker quite a bit on that side. It's good. It's fine. It's comfortable. It's cloth-like. It feels good. I don't have any issue at this price. Like, if it was, you know, a premium knife, yeah, I'd like to see the top line micarta on it, but this is fine. Good loud acoustics too. Like, really gives you a nice clack in there. I can appreciate that. The Real Steel logo is not too big. I mean, I kind of just wish they always had just a logo instead of, honestly, that right there. See that, like, double nail split T? Just use that as your logo. Or just an R with the, no, just the T. That T's cool looking. Just use that as your logo. It's big, but it's fine. It's a budget knife. It's not too big. Nothing's too bad. Nothing's too distracting here. It's not like it's taking away, especially on this finish, because it's not like popping out too much. Yeah, I just want this thing. I want a V2 of this. I'm willing to go to bed for this knife, honestly. I'm thinking about even reaching out to Real Steel and being like, hey guys, this is so close. I know I'm nobody. I'm just this tiny random nonsense little YouTuber. But it's so close to being just perfect and amazing. Minor little tweaks in a V2 would see this thing become, see right there, I just slipped off because I didn't think about it and went too high. Would see this thing become absolutely fantastic. In fact, as it sits, right here, like from, say, this jump to, well, not maybe the middle of this jump to right here, they could put thumb studs or thumb disc on the back of this thing. It would fall in perfect position, keep it out of the way of the blade, and if you actually look, you have tons of room as this thing pivots around from this central point. It never gets close. You could even move it back a little bit further, and you'd still never risk hitting. You could put thumb studs on this blade as it sits right now, and I guarantee you, Real Steel, if you ever listen to me, that would immediately increase the potential buyer market for this knife. Just immediately. It's set up and it could be done. Or thumb disc at the top in that same kind of general area, about here. It doesn't have to be a big one, maybe just reasonable size, about that big. Either way, give us some more lock bar access, put some studs or something on this thing, push down that clip a little bit. It would be amazing. I'd probably buy like 3 of them because I like it that much. I love the style of it. But it needs a few tweaks to really sing. Also, this is personal preference, but I would like to see just like a sudden shift in angle, like a sudden huge, large chamfer right from about here forward, bringing down the height of the scale so you get like a pinch point. That would just be kind of a nice quality of life thing. That's just personal. But beyond that, There's so much good here, and I really... It's not bad as it is. It's good. It's still good, and it still works, and it's still a nice, wonderful knife. But I can see this keeping a few people out that it otherwise would be rather welcoming to. So, yeah. I think that's where we're going to end things. Oh, I forgot to even mention the dang price. It's $68. It's budget. The slip joint is like $64. This is $68. And yeah, it kind of substantiates that, like, all day, just with the micarta and the way it's executed, and it feels like a $60 knife. It does, like a budget knife. It feels like it's definitely in that territory. It's fine. I don't mind the price point. So, yeah. Here's hoping they do something more with this, because there's potential. I'm going to end things here. I know I prattled on a little bit longer, but I'm a little bit passionate about this one. I don't know why. It just strikes me, and I like it. So, I will end things here, and as I just said, consider liking and subscribing. Let me know if you agree. Does this have some potential? Do you see some interesting possibilities here? Because I'm just... Oh, there's a lanyard hole, too. Hey, look at that. You're accommodating to everybody. Yeah. I'm out. See you later. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.